What's the most uncomfortable situation a nice guy has put you in? Met a nice guy over OKC a couple years ago. I gave him my number after we chatted for a bit and talked about possibly meeting. When he suggested we meet at a local elementary school in the middle of the night, I noped the frick out and told him it was nice talking to him but I didn't want to meet anymore. He kept trying to convince me by saying he would buy me gifts. He really likes me and thinks we could hit it off. When I told him no, he blew up and called me a B, a W, the usual. He tells me that I now owe him $15 because he had already bought me a present for our first date and that I needed to meet him right now to give him his money. Or I could meet him and have a good time and forget about all of this. Blocked his number right away and didn't hear from him until the next day when he calls me from a different number. When I picked up, he acted pleasant and asked me what time we were going to meet today for our date. I told him to frick off and blocked him again. Then I get a text a couple hours later from another freaking phone number saying that if I don't meet him, he was going to kill himself. After a bit of unnecessarily dramatic conversation, I basically told him that I didn't care if he killed himself. He was psychotic and needed to leave me alone. I blocked him and forgot about it. Fast forward to about 6 months ago when I got a text from an unknown number. I knew exactly who it was when I read the text. I have $20 and a fun night planned for us. Want to meet sometime soon? Miss you. Blocked it. Changed my number. Never giving it out to a stranger again. A whole $20. Oh. There was a guy in high school who had a crush on me. He was never shy about it, and from day one he made me feel really uncomfortable. He'd ask me out multiple times a day, always in front of my friends, who didn't help because they'd always egg me on to go out with him. I was the new kid in school and they'd all been friends with him since elementary school. When I kept saying no, he assumed it was because I was seeing someone else, so he started telling people I was sleeping with random guys in school. I wasn't. I had no interest in dating any of the boys I went to high school with. Anytime I tried to tell him to stop doing that, he, and anyone else around for that matter, said he was just joking and I needed to lighten up. It all came to a head at the homecoming dance my junior year. He was a senior, so it was his last homecoming. Apparently, the day before homecoming he told one of my friends that he'd asked me to the dance and I said yes. He had not asked me. I never had any intention of going to the dance. He kept going on to my friend about how special he wanted it to be, that he spent all his money on tickets, gas, new shoes and a corsage. My friend was so excited for him that she went over to his house the day of homecoming and helped him get everything ready. She also told all our friends what was going on, so everyone was under the impression I was going to the dance with him. Let me also add, no one checked with Emmy that I was going to the dance, so this was all going on without my knowledge. He told everyone that I was going to get dropped off by my parents, so he and all my friends waited outside for me. They waited for 3 hours. Apparently anytime my friends told him to come inside and that I wasn't coming, he'd start tearing up and say, just 5 more minutes. So of course I show up to school on Monday and everyone was furious at me. None of my friends wanted to talk to me. I sat alone at lunch for 3 days completely confused about what was going on before some girl I'd never talked to before asked me why I'd stood this guy up. So I went up to the guy when he was alone, asked what the frick he'd done, and he just started laughing hysterically and said, if you agree to go out with me I'll tell everyone it was just a misunderstanding. Never talked to the guy again. It permanently damaged my friendships with several people because they thought I was a massive butthole to this guy who they thought was really sweet. I had to get a ride from a friend my junior year of high school. For some reason I didn't have my car. I don't remember all the details. He stopped about a mile from my house and pulled over onto the side of the road. He told me he had a dream where we had made out and that I was a really good kisser and he decided I could either walk home from there or kiss him. I'm a big dude and at my first semester at a university, I came in as a junior. There was this guy that was just way too freaking into me and he was super creepy about it. The dude would just sit uncomfortably close to me. Like if I was sitting on a chair, he'd sit on the armrest. Or if I was talking to someone, he'd place himself directly between me and the person I was talking to. It was annoying. He would always bring up discussions to make sure everyone in the room knew he was bi and ask everyone their orientation. And every dude would answer straight and he'd awkwardly flirt with me or some other dude. After months of this, We were playing ping pong and were getting in a stupid argument where he was just flat out wrong. It had something to do with game engines and pixel art. It was stupid. He would hate to admit he was wrong, but he decided this was a good point to show me he was able to accept defeat in an argument. He goes, "Shed, I have Asperger's. It's really hard for me to look someone in the eye. I can only do it if I am really mad at a person. Or if I really want to frick them. But don't worry, I'm not mad at you all," while staring right into my face. I just put my crap down and walked away. Okay, that Asperger's comment peed me off the most about this. You do not weaponize a mental illness. Ugh, what is wrong with this dude? I was like 19 and working third shift at a gas station, casually sweeping the floor. The door opens and I hear that ding, so I look up and make eye contact with some guy. I can't explain what was going on in this guy's head, but it was like he thought it was some kind of slow-mo movie situation, and he staggered back, gasping, and widening his eyes and staring at me. I am not the kind of person to notice this kind of stuff in other people. I felt like I was reading a scene from Twilight in my head. I went behind the checkout counter. He grabbed his Red Bull or whatever. He kept obviously looking at me in shock and shaking his head like he was trying to psych himself up for something. Ladies, you know that feeling when you know someone wants to catch your attention and talk to you but you're trying to keep it casual. Full stop. This went on for like 20 minutes and I couldn't accomplish anything because I'm waiting for this dude to check out. Anyway, so he walks up to the checkout super dramatically. I check him out. He stares the whole time and finally sighs, saying, "I never expected to see such a beautiful woman at a gas station. This is fate. You shouldn't be working here." I just can't help myself. "I have to ask you to go out with me." I said, "Sorry, I have a boyfriend." He seriously looked enraged. He clenched his fists and gave me this overly dramatic scary look, grabbed his stuff, and stormed out the door. He moved his car so the bright headlights were facing the front of the store and sat there until the next customer came, probably an hour later. Honestly, I wasn't too scared. It was just like, really? I just wanted to finish my list of duties at this crappy gas station and live my life. But some joke concocted a bizarre dream scenario in his head and somehow that was my fault. Gotta love the sheer stupidity of thinking both that you're way too pretty to be here, but then being shocked and enraged that you could possibly have a boyfriend. What a nutcase. Nice guy said he was doing me a favor by trying stick his hands down my pants, because he was the only one that would give me experience being the size I was. Jokes on him. I lost 65 pounds after that and turned my life around completely. Frick that noise. It doesn't matter how big you are, debauchery is never ever fricking justified. Had a very difficult, traumatic ending to a long-term, live-in engagement. He went to jail. I decided to go to Europe to backpack for the summer. Best friend, M, agreed to come along, and was very aware this was a post-breakup getaway, to clear my head and have fun. He flew out ahead of me to visit family. I arrived at the airport to see him waiting for me in Europe on bended knee, ring and flowers and all. I was furious, and that friendship was destroyed. Vacation was equal parts horrendously awkward and tense, and amazing, but ended with him drunkenly ranting about it all again in a hostel one night, ultimately becoming carnally and physically aggressive toward me, and a group of stranger hostel bunkies helping to quietly pack my stuff while he was finally passed out, and get me to the airport and home immediately. I haven't seen him since, about 8 years now. How can you possibly justify proposing after something like that, lol? Met a guy at a gathering at a mutual friend's place and ended up getting stuck talking to him all night. Night ends and I don't give it another thought. Couple weeks later he calls my house. I didn't give him my last name or phone number. Since he now has my number, he also knows my address and starts showing up at my house at weird times, sometimes with his equally creepy sister. Fast forward a few years, I haven't lived at home for at least a year. He shows up. Dad answers the door and just tells him I'm not in, not that I don't live there or anything. Later that same night, Dad lets the dog out for a pee before bed. Dog disappears into the backyard, chasing something she really wants to catch. Thinks it's a skunk or something until he hears the gate on the neighbor's fence open and close quickly. Dog has chased a person out of the backyard. My old bedroom window faced our backyard. We don't know for sure, but I think my dog chased that freaking creep out of our yard. Frick you, Adam. That's a good doggo. Drinking too much on a first date in order to stay over at my apartment and sleep on my couch, and then try to worm into my bed at 3 AM. Same thing has happened to me. I knew this kid in 9th grade who seemed like a nice enough dude. Let's call him Frank. We became friends over our mutual love of video games, with him seeming to be a lot more invested in the friendship, but like I said, he seemed harmless. One day, I invite him over to my house to play games on my PlayStation. We have a good enough time, him continuously talking about how he's so happy to have a friend who likes video games and is a girl. Red flag, I know. I get to school the next day, and during class, my friends tell me that Frank went and bragged to anyone that would hear that I invited him over and that he heard I was easy and brought a condom just in case. Being an angry and petty teenager, I walk up to him during lunch period, in front of a bunch of guys, and called him out for what he said. He began stuttering, but before he could finish, I told him he was a creep and to never talk to me again. Cut to a few months later, and I'm called into the vice principal's office. I get there, and she asked me if I was friends with Frank, and I responded that we used to be. She asked what ended our friendship, and I explained the situation to her. She looks at me and says that's not what he told us, but I think I know who's telling the truth. Turns out that after I ended our friendship, Frank fixated on another girl, only to discover she had a boyfriend. Frank decided the best course of action to get rid of the boyfriend was to pull a knife on the kid in the hallway and threaten him. Security of course gets him and discovers he only had a butter knife. Still, he threatened someone, and so he was called into the principal's office, whereupon he explained that the only reason he pulled the knife on this guy was because he was so heartbroken after I dumped him following our 6-month anniversary and fell in love with this other girl because she treated him right. He got suspended, but since it was close to the end of the school year, he just never came back and transferred schools the following school year. Good riddance. I considered him a friend. Stayed at his apartment when visiting his town. He slept in the living room, I in the bedroom. When it got late, he started making jokes about how he had hidden the bedroom key and that I should get ready for him. I spent the night half awake and fully dressed from sheer fear. In the morning, I packed and wanted to leave, but he wouldn't let me go without having a goodbye kiss. He physically blocked the door so I couldn't get out. I tried to play it off and somehow managed to squeeze by him without getting kissed, but it was a terrifying experience, and that was the end of our friendship. Well, that is just something else. Holy heck. A good buddy of mine was moving across the country. Had known him for a while, and while he's very gay, and I'm not, we were still pretty close friends. He had his going away party, a very gay bar here in Austin. No big, I'm comfortable in my being straight. I'll go and have a few drinks, dance a little and go home with my girlfriend, who went to the party with me. Well, we get there, and about 20 minutes in, she gets a text that her friend's sister had been in a bad car accident, so she leaves to go help her friend. I decide I'll stay for another hour or so before heading home. I'm at the bar, having a drink, and I start to feel tired, so I'm going to go outside and call an Uber. As I'm outside, one guy from the party group, but who I didn't know at all, asked what was going on, and I told him I was leaving. He was like, dude, I live right by you, I'll drop you off. I didn't think about it at the time but would have no clue where I lived because we barely had been introduced at the party. I get in his car, and as we turn the corner, he puts his hand on my leg. I kinda snap out of it and say, you know what man, I'm uncomfortable here. Why don't you let me out of the car? I get the whole nah bro, I'll get you home safe, it's fine. And won't stop, doesn't pull over, comes up to a stoplight. I try to open the door, and the door won't open. He won't look at me, and by this point, I'm saying very forcibly to let me go. I normally conceal carry, but not this night since I was in a bar and I was drinking. Both illegal to carry a gun while doing so. After a few more lights and silence where I realize that he's taking me somewhere against my will, I realize that I have a window breaker on my keychain. It's one of those combo thingies that can cut a seatbelt and break a window if your car is underwater. So I pull it out, and immediately break the passenger side window at the next light, and try to start crawling out. Luckily, there were like 8 people that saw it happen and came running over. he still wouldn't unlock the door. When he saw them running over to help, he opened the door and pushed me out and sped off. He was in a stolen car, and no one knew him at the party. He had just started associating with our group early on and I thought he was part of the party. It was scary crap. I worked for a few years at a children's museum. There was this single dad with 3 daughters, who was cute but way too old for me, especially at the time, when I was 19 and he was about 35. I also got a weird vibe from him, but he was always very sweet, if a little uncomfortable. His daughters were adorable. The following events happened over probably a 6-month period. One day, some guest approaches me and asks me if I've seen this missed connections on Craigslist about the museum. It was about me. The guy was writing about things we had talked about and was saying how good we would be together, etc. Thinking back, I honestly think that she must have been friends with the guy, because it was too weird that she approached me out of all the other workers, then asked me what I thought about the guy who wrote the ad. Later, he found me on Facebook and tried to add me. I didn't add him, and the next time he was in the museum, he followed me room to room and just glared at me from afar, not talking to me. Super uncomfortable. I thought it would be easier just to add him, so I did. Then he starts commenting really weird cringy obscene stuff on my photos, like a gif of Pikachu biting his lip, or just fap, so I decide enough is enough and deleted him. Then he tries to win me back or something. He brings a wrapped canvas to the museum and gives it to my boss, saying it would be too weird to just give it to her, and my boss calls me down later and makes me open it in front of everyone. It was a very fun workplace and we loved to rip on each other, and it was a painting of one of my photos from Facebook. I was so mortified. I put it away, but one of my co-workers, and also my best friend, replaced the clock in the break room with my portrait, because she is a dong lol. While it was funny, I also asked my boss to kinda watch out for him, so from then on I didn't see him anymore, and I blocked him on Facebook, so I think I'm safe. Out of all the weird crap he did, the Facebook comments are the most baffling. Fap is the worst possible thing. I bet she would be into imagining me at my computer desk, masturbating in the dark while stalking her Facebook. Nice guy from college, we're talking trench coat and fedora, fingerless gloves, pathetically sleazy smile, the whole shebang, in a tropical country, at that, who kept trying to talk to me even as I was clearly trying to do my homework. Now, I was okay with multitasking. I could do homework and listen and respond to him, but he wouldn't have it. Hey, Tuna, you know what? I really hate it when women, yes, not people, women, specifically, ignore me. I was dumbfounded but also really offended, so I shot back that I was listening to him, even if I wasn't looking at him. No, but when I'm talking to someone, I want them to look at me. Friend overheard this and went off on him faster than I did. He left me alone after that. Not as terrible as the other answers here, but that was my first real taste of it. It's amazing how Andy Bernard's voice immediately appeared in my head as soon as I read "Hey, Tuna." A co-worker gave me a ride to the train station because I had missed my bus when I was a trainee. It is a 10-15 minutes ride, and I thought it nice of him but did not think much of it. I thought he was just helping out. When we were still in the car, he then mentioned wanting to invite me for a drink one day, then offered me to drive me all the way back home. He was living near the train station we were heading to and it would have made a 45 minutes drive to get to my place. I declined because I felt uncomfortable, and because without traffic the train was actually more convenient for me. He mistaked my refusal for politeness or just outright ignored it and insisted, saying it was not bothering him to drive all the way here. At this point I did not care about him, I was just starting to get scared. He insisted and I had to argue and practically begged him to just drop me at the train station. Finally mentioning that my dad was waiting for me anyway at the terminus, and pretended we could have a drink someday, and he let it go. But it all happened as we were driving in the highway, so I really felt trapped and it was really uncomfortable. Thankfully it was my last week here and I avoided him the last few days I worked. Let me sleep over because I lived an hour away and we'd been drinking. And he pulls the "Ole, you're really lucky I'm a nice guy. Most guys would force themselves on you right now, but I don't because I'm nice. You're really lucky." Despite us having been normal platonic friends for a few months before this, and me having established a few times that I wasn't interested in anything else with him. I wore a V-neck t-shirt, not a deep cut V that actually shows cleavage, a cotton athletic tee with a college logo on it that was basically a crew neck but just happened to have a V-shaped neck. My ex-boyfriend, very religious, told me it was rude of me to tempt him so he would fall from grace and want to sleep with me. He kept making comments and passive-aggressively shaming me the rest of the night. I had just come home from the gym and was wearing sweatpants over jogging shorts. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.